Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. A very warm welcome to Meet Menaca, episode 90, Caring for Your Heart with Dr. Kulasegaram, Ranjadayalan. It's a humble honor to have him on the show today. Meet Menaca is a talk show. It's a 90 minutes free event where we invite experts to share their wisdom and ordinary people who have had extraordinary lives who will help the social change we really deserve and to thrive. This is a platform to celebrate each and every one of you. The humble request for you to support us by subscribing to the YouTube channel Meet Menaca so that we can share these messages far and wide across the globe. Firstly, a huge thank you for you, Dr. Ranjadayalan, for agreeing to come on the show.
It is my pleasure, and thank you so much for inviting for your very prestigious forum. And I hope this is going to be useful for the attendees. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled to have you.
Thank you.
A little bit about the speaker. I'm sure for most of you, he doesn't need any introductions. For those who haven't come across him yet, Dr. Ranjadayalan qualified from the University of Peradeniya in Sri Lanka in 1979 and completed MD in Sri Lanka in 1985. He obtained his MRCP UK in 1987 and is a fellow of the Royal Colleges, FRCP Edinburgh and London. Dr. Ranjadayalan currently working as a consultant cardiologist for Newham CCG, an honorary contract with Barts Health. As I mentioned, it's a huge privilege to have him on the show. And for people who are on the Zoom, you will have the exclusive possibility to ask questions directly to him after the first 60 minutes. And please send the questions to either to Raj Madhavan or Dr. Lakshmi Vedayadhar if you want to ask a question confidentially. So without further ado, let's dive in.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So, loads of questions, Dr. Ranjan. You spoke a bit too early. Let me go through one by one so I don't miss anything. First question was, what about the sugar alternatives or sweeteners?
Very good question. The sweeteners are safe. So far, the scientific evidence is, so they do not cause cancer, because there was one concern about that. But they have two problems. They have less calorie, no doubt. So it's a good substitute, for example, patients with diabetes. But when you take a drink with a sweetener on, like coffee or tea or even fruit juices, that sweet stimulates insulin. So it makes you crave for more food exactly like sweet. So in that way, it is a bad thing. The second harmful thing about the sweetener, this has been proven scientifically in animal studies, that the artificial sweeteners, at least some of them, alter your gut bacteria. So that makes them vulnerable to weight gain. And how they prove this is, when they gave artificial sweeteners to a particular group of mice and others without any artificial sweeteners, the artificial sweeteners mice, they all put on weight. And then they remove their intestine or stomach and transplant it to other group of mice. They also put on weight. There is something in the gut which is transmissible in this experiment. So these are the two disadvantages of artificial sweeteners. So if you are using that for purely weight matter, it is not that helpful, but it is so far safe.
On the same note, what about honey? Because people say honey is a natural thing, so you can put honey. I myself use Manuka honey in my coffee sometimes. So what are your thoughts about it?
A good question. Honey is not good as you thought, because it has fructose. And any fruit sugar is worse than any other sugar. So fructose is bad for health, because fructose has more tendency of being converted to bad fat. In fact, fructose should be minimized for patients with abdominal obesity, fatty liver. In fact, one of the more common reasons for fatty liver and all these pre-diabetic condition is fructose intake that include honey. So honey is not good as once thought.
Thank you so much. So there goes the honey. Not many things left to have, Dr. Ranjadayalan, after listening to you today.
Dark chocolate is good.
Oh, I love the chocolates, and everybody on the platform knows I'm known as the chocoholic dentist, which is good news. I don't mind that at all. The next question to you is, papaya fruit also, is it also bad? There was some evidence it is different to other fruits on its effects on diabetes.
Yeah. So if it is the ripe papaya, then if it has sweetness, then it has fructose. So any fruit, any vegetable, when they are sweet, there is sugar. But if you eat an unripe papaya, it has a lot of fiber and a lot of other useful, I don't know exact content of the carbohydrate, but generally an unripe fruit on this thing, they are good because they have very low glycemic index. And so they can be. So it all depends on, it's like banana. Say a ripe banana is bad. It is, when I say bad, it's not terribly bad, like fruit juice, but it has at least medium glycemic index like pineapple and things. So ripe papaya also will come under that category.
I was listening to you and I was thinking in my head, like you were telling that it's best to avoid fruits in the morning or any sugar, sweets in the morning because of the satiatory hormone.
Yeah.
So what about smoothies? Because we all are becoming big fans of smoothies suddenly. And so what about that?
I think it all depends on what you put into the smoothies.
No fruits,
so
I take it.
You also put some celery and some vegetable oil, and then it is good. And it's better to include these the good oils, especially when you don't cook, because it adds taste to it. And also it mellows the harmful effect of carbohydrate by reducing the absorption. Sure. So that's why it is better to take some of the oils, especially when it is not cooked. Sure. So the content is the matter. If you put banana, a lot of banana, pineapple, and mango, then that smoothie is worse than even eating fruits.
Sure. Thank you so much. And the next question to you from someone is, does grilling have same effect as frying?
No, I think grilling is better because you're not frying and not doing much harm. But it is the temperature that matters. So if even grilling, if you have to increase the temperature, that forms a trans fat and makes such as have the good effect of unsaturated fat. So make sure it doesn't apply too much heat. So grilling is better.
What about using an air fryer?
I don't know much about air fryer. As long as the heating is not that much, I suppose it is the heat. I think frying is the intense heat.
Correct. Because very little oil is used in the air fryer.
That's fine. I think if you the heating and frying applies only to the oil. Mm-hmm. Because you are getting rid of the good. And in fact, the best way to use the virgin oil and any oil is apply at the end of the cooking before you stop the heating and even salad or anything. So as long as you don't apply that much temperature to the oil, you get the most benefit. So if it is not much involvement of heating and not much oil, then you don't have to worry about heating. Thank
you so much. You did mention that at least minimum 6 hours sleep is needed, I think.
7 hours.
7 hours. Someone has asked why more sleep is bad for health.
Yes, right. There have been some work on that. One is if you sleep more, then you are more tired. So paradoxically, in fact, people think, oh, I better to sleep for 10 hours, so I'll be more energetic. No, it never happened that way. So the more sleep, more than 8 hours sleep, the more lazy you become. So you become more sedentary. So the enthusiasm to get up and do some more physical activity become less. And the more sleep you have, the more hungry you become. Again, apparently they are proven by various assays like the ghrelin, leptin, and various other hormones, leptin, sorry. And so the body changes, particularly hormonal changes related to longer sleep, are harmful. And it has been proven by outcome studies. They have shown that people who sleep for these hours has much higher risk. And unfortunately, the effect is much more in women.
Okay.
And so that's one thing to remember.
Sure. Thank you so much. What about the impact of anxiety over cardiac health? This is something I wanted to ask, and because a lot of people now have these ECG machines. I bought one for my dad as well when I went back to Sri Lanka last time because he was unwell. These days, you can buy the ECG, it records, you can share it with doctors. There are so many apps. I guess in a different way, it can also increase the anxiety.
Yeah.
Someone has actually asked, what is the impact of anxiety over cardiac health?
Yes, it is a negative impact. Any anxiety, of course, certain level of anxiety increase the performance and is good. But above certain level of anxiety, because you release stress hormones, cortisol, catecholamines, they adversely affect the cardiovascular system. Sudden increase in heart rate, sudden increase in blood pressure. In fact, with blood pressure, one thing we know, it is a fluctuation which is bad. So anxiety causes that, and anxiety increases the heart rate, which can have adverse effect. So anxiety to a certain extent may be okay. So if you say, oh, I better check my ECG, oh, I'm a bit nervous, but let me check, that's okay. But if you are preoccupied, oh my God, I have to check the ECG tomorrow morning, and if you lose your sleep over that, so that level of anxiety, being preoccupied, may be harmful. Very difficult to prove, but anything, anxiety, low mood, everything has been proven to be harmful. In fact, so much so, we are supposed to, every cardiac patient, we have to send a questionnaire and make sure the anxiety level is acceptable. If not, we have to provide counseling and various other methods.
Can patients who are diabetic do intermittent fasting?
Yes, provided the diabetologists are agreeable. If they are on insulin, they have to be very careful. Intermittent fasting, very helpful for anyone. In fact, the best way to cure diabetes is fasting, intermittent fasting, because the principle is your natural insulin is secreted less, so that is one way of increasing the insulin sensitivity. Yes, it is good, provided you are not on insulin and your diabetologist is happy about, and also telling the medication, and you have to be a bit careful. He may say you are on daily medication, so it's better you do something regularly. So if you may benefit by 16 8-hour fasting rather than intermittent fasting. So better to consult your diabetic nurse specialist or diabetologist, but intermittent fasting is good for everyone.
Thank you so much. The next question to you is being a vegetarian better for health compared to eating animal food?
Absolutely, no doubt whatsoever. There is no argument, no disagreement about vegetarian diet is simply the best. And they have shown over and over again that anyone who has the vegetarian diet are much healthier, less fatty deposit, provided the amount also taken into consideration. But as long as it's a strict vegetarian diet, in fact, red meat is toxic to pancreas. And red meat causes cancer and is much less fiber. So vegetarian diet is simply the best.
But don't they also say that fish is better?
But if you, the next step is, if you can't stick to strict vegetarian diet, then fish and lean poultry are better. Even egg is better than once we thought, as long as you limit the amount, because it has only 1% carbohydrate. Excellent protein content egg, the high quality protein in egg. So 1 egg a day may be good, as long as you also notice the cholesterol content. Cholesterol content is high, but the good news about egg eaters is the dietary cholesterol hasn't got much negative effect on the blood cholesterol. So egg is good, poultry is good, and fish is good, particularly deep sea fish, because they are very rich in omega-3. Omega-3 is fantastic protection for heart and even healthy people.
What about nuts on the subject?
Nuts, very good, but there are some harmful nuts. The two notorious is peanuts and cashew nuts.
The two nuts I love.
We all love. And peanut, the reason is not totally bad, but you must watch the amount, because peanut has 21% carbohydrate. At the same time, it has the very good unsaturated fat, monounsaturated. That's why it's tasty. So the amount you have to be careful about peanut. And other one is cashew nut. Cashew nut also you have to be very careful because it has much higher calorie content, 28%. So as long as you're careful about the calorie count for the peanut and cashew nut, walnut is simply the best because the best source of omega-3. But again, it's calorie content. So 5 walnuts are good per day. So certain nuts are bad because of their very high carbohydrate content. But most of the nuts are good because they have very high fiber and very good unsaturated fat.
Sure. Thank you so much. How can we have a high fiber diet if you're saying to reduce sweet fruits? How can we increase fiber content, therefore, is a question.
Yes, most of the vegetables have very high fiber content. So vegetables are high fiber. All wheat, bran diet, even brown bread and this thing I have bit fiber, oat bran. So very important to increase the fiber, and any processed food has no fiber because they can't store any food if they have fiber content. So that's why you must choose high fiber cereal and high fiber food. Our natural one is vegetable and certain fruits. Avocado has high fiber. And undried banana has, the greenish one. So if you choose the right fruit, strawberry and all these things, they have certain amount of fiber. But when you come to watermelon and strawberry, they have reached almost to the calorie level. Even though watermelon has a lot of water, it doesn't have any fiber. So it has replaced the fiber with one good thing with another good thing. So you must be careful of eating too much watermelon. And same thing, strawberries. Strawberries have 5% calories, so they are sweet, but they have fiber. So you must make a balance. So vegetables and certain fruits have high fiber and certain cereals have fiber. So you must always read the content. You must have at least 30 grams of fiber a day. We are far, far below that. Our average daily consumption is around 10. So more fiber, the better it is.
Thank you so much. The next question is, if we omit fruits, don't we miss the nutrients that fruits give?
Yeah, micronutrients and things, but that's a good question. But you don't have to omit entirely the fruits, but the micronutrients will be there in certain other fruits as well, like guava and tomatoes, for example. Even though it is a vegetable, it's a fruit. It's a fruit with a better effect of a vegetable. So you can have any colorful vegetable and which has enough micronutrients. The more color they have, the better the micronutrients. But a green apple is better for fiber content, but the red apple is good for all these micronutrients. So you can have alternate days, green apple and red apple. The more colorful they are, they say the better it is as micronutrients is concerned.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry because there are so many questions. I'm just asking one after the other. Okay. Some doctors say that fiber in fruit helps slow absorption of sugar in fruits. What is your opinion?
Yes, definitely. That's the advantage of fiber.
Okay.
The fiber by definition is a carbohydrate which is not digestible. And what they do is the most important beneficial action is on the heart and the brain. They reduce the glucose absorption. That's why all vegetables have very low glycemic index. So the insulin secretion is very subtle. So they are very beneficial for health because the less insulin production, the more healthy it is. So that's why fiber content. So fiber has two beneficial effects. One is on the cardiovascular system and the cardiac health because of the less sugar level in the blood. So it's good for diabetics. But more importantly, even for the gut, it alters the gut flora and is good for gut health as well. So it has a dual benefit. And also additional benefit like it prevents cancer or minimize cancer and a lot of other gastric complications. So it is a good thing to have. Fibers are the best.
Thank you so much. It looks like the next question is from a doctor, perhaps not. Can dapagliflozin and empagliflozin cause DKA in non-diabetic patients?
Never. Because that's a good question. When they started this trial, they thought that DKA is one of the established complications of this class of drugs, that is empagliflozin or dapagliflozin. But now all the latest trials have very clearly shown there is no excess of DKA even in diabetes.
Would you
So-
explain what is DKA for me? Some
Sorry,
people
it's
might
a
not know.
diabetic ketoacidosis. So when they started these drugs 10, 15 years ago, say 2010, they started the first trial, they found there is slight excess of diabetic patient going into ketoacidosis when they start using that. The reason is some of the diabetics, when they need to be on insulin, because they have tried all other drugs, instead of giving insulin, they started on this drug. So if a patient is very uncontrolled diabetic with underweight, where it suggests that they need insulin because they need some fat into their body, we shouldn't start on this drug because that means you is totally too late. But that is the reason they went into diabetic ketoacidosis. But if you select the appropriate patient with reasonable weight and reasonable HbA1c, say for up to 80% of HbA1c, so then if you start them well on time, in fact, it's a second line drug for most diabetics. It is a wonderful tablet because it helps in every way, control the HbA1c, controls the blood pressure. It is a dream diuretic for any patient because it gets rid of the salt and water in an equal amount, so it doesn't cause intravascular depletion, unlike furosemide and other diuretic. It gets rid of the uric acid, which is the other harmful toxin in the body. And it protects the kidney, it protects the heart. So it has all the beneficial effects. And it reduces all cause deaths and cardiovascular death, understandably. And it acts very molecular level. It inhibits the sodium hydrogen exchange molecule in the heart and the kidney, which are very, very harmful. They are highly activated, particularly in diabetics. So this inhibits that particular pathway. Hence, it has a strong beneficial effect. And glucose is toxin for body. Ketones are better. In fact, the mechanism of action is it makes it more ketogenic because you get rid of the glucose. So that is beneficial to heart and brain.
Sure. Thank you so much. The next question is, what is the best time to take aspirin or starvation and metformin?
Metformin is better to take it with food, but most of them are 24-hour action or 12-hour action. So better to take it twice a day around the meal time, just soon after meal. Aspirin is always better in the morning with breakfast because of the action, as we mentioned, the risk of platelet stickiness is high. But because it's 24-hour action anyway, so if you want to take it with dinner, that's fine. The effect will be there in the morning as well. So there is no specific time, but we normally recommend in the morning with breakfast.
Thank you so much. I'm also taking dapagliflozin and metformin. Is it better option?
Absolutely brilliant combination, superb combination. Anyone on metformin, in fact, now we ask diabetics, even cardiac person, why you haven't started the DAPA or EMPA yet. The reason being, there are two very clear indications in diabetics to start on this drug, even if the HbA1c is perfect, not to control the diabetes, but to protect the heart. If they have, for example, diabetes plus high blood pressure, they already have the fatal combination, so they have very high risk of developing atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. If you give dapagliflozin, there is 15,000 patient trial evidence. If you give dapagliflozin or empagliflozin, then they are protected from having a heart attack, stroke, or any vascular event. So it is primary prevention there. Or if they have a risk of developing heart failure, if they already have a heart attack, they should be put on this drug. No monitoring necessary whatsoever. They protect them within 2-3 weeks. So early benefit. That's why they are still struggling to find what is the unique beneficial effect it is having, preventing admission, preventing death so early and independent of blood pressure control or blood sugar control. So it's a wonder drug. That combination is superb. It does not cause low sugar because the mechanism of action is independent of pancreas, get rid of the unwanted sugar from the kidney.
Sure. Thank you so much. The next question is, please comment on gingerly oil. Is any evidence about it?
Absolutely. Gingerly oil is very good. It's a sesame seed oil. It is good. It has high content of antioxidant, unsaturated fat, or is similar to it coming under like flaxseed oil and other oil, vegetable oil. It is good. So it can be used. It has a lot of advantages. Yes. And it's tasty as well.
Sure. Thank you so much. If we are taking medicine, can we do fasting and take medicine without food? I think you already answered it.
It depends on the medication, particularly if it's a diabetic medication. Definitely, you must consult your diabetic specialist to find out whether to skip or not. Particularly insulin, you can't take without taking food. But certain medication you can still take and you have to take.
Thank you so much. The next question was, how does vitamin K2 supplement impact atherosclerotic disease?
There's no direct beneficial effect, at least I don't know yet. But vitamin K, you have to be careful of supplement, especially if you're on aspirin or any blood thinning medication, because vitamin K is something to do with procoagulant or manufacturing. I know it's vitamin K, manufacturing clotting factors in the blood by the liver. So taking any supplement like vitamin K supplement, if you're on a medication, particularly blood thinning medication, you need to check with your chemist or your doctor whether it is safe to do so. Very important. Any supplement, you have to be careful. There are a few supplements which are very safe, scientifically proven. One is omega-3. Other one is CQ10. In particular cardiac condition, it has been proven beneficial, but is not yet prescribable. But all the other over-the-counter, you have to be careful.
Thank you so much. And the other question is, if avoiding carbs completely a good dietary choice, especially if you're someone who is active?
Absolutely. You need, I don't know how they found out this. Scientifically, they found you need only 4 grams of carbohydrate per day, which is equivalent to 1 teaspoonful. But the initial recommendation, the former recommendation is 6 and 9, 6 for men and 6 for women and 9 teaspoons for women, the original recommendation. But now they say 1 teaspoonful is good enough. So in fact, you don't need any carbohydrate at all because the body can cope without sugar.
Thank you. Is it advisable to do cardio workout regularly?
Cardiac workout, yes, because it is very good for the heart, but make sure you are not straining your muscles and joints. And cardiac workout, you have to be careful, not strenuous. Strenuous activity has some negative impact, not only physically, but also for cardiovascular. For example, certain condition called atrial fibrillation, it has been proven beyond doubt that people who are prone to get fast, irregular heartbeat like atrial fibrillation should not do strenuous activity because that is one well-known trigger for that condition. So certain cardiac conditions are made worse. And more importantly, for heart health, you don't need strenuous activity. Just moderate intensity is more than good enough.
Someone has privately asked me, what is your alternative for aspirin?
Clopidogrel. Clopidogrel is good enough. You must make sure you don't have any bleeding risk. So the only disadvantage, in fact, it's 5 times more effective. In fact, particularly in diabetes, clopidogrel may be even superior to aspirin. Patient with peripheral vascular disease, that is a problem with their legs, clopidogrel is superior to aspirin. This has been proven scientifically. So some of the vascular surgeons recommend clopidogrel instead of aspirin. And now the latest is even they may recommend what we call an antithrombotic like refruxiban, but at a low dosage. So very important to prevent clot formation in anyone with vascular disease. But whether it's a single agent, and if so, what is the right choice? Is it aspirin? Is it clopidogrel or refruxiban? Better to be decided by the treating physician or surgeon. But the most important good news is there is the most effective treatment available, which will save life and the limb.
Thank you so much. I guess it's more of a statement than a question. According to some reports, papaya has hypoglycemic effect on the body because it contains flavonoids, which are antioxidants and regulate blood sugar. Its glycemic index is 60. Any comment?
Glycemic index 60 is good. That means there is a certain amount of absorption and glucose. I never heard any food causing hypoglycemia. That is news to me. And I never heard flavonoids causes hypoglycemia. But the most important thing about hypoglycemia is because sugar is not important to our body, you should never get hypoglycemia unless you are starving yourself and you don't have adequate fat storage. Or you have sudden intense exercise without having some storage. So it's extremely uncommon for you to have significant hypoglycemia by just eating papaya.
Thank you so much. We have gone through all the questions. I missed a question, so I'm just going to ask that question. There are obese patients who also generally have osteoarthritis of the knees with high vascular risk. They are unable to do exercise. What to do?
Yes. So chair-based exercise, any slight movement is good. If the osteoarthritis is affecting the hip or knee or ankle is always a problem about doing cardiovascular exercise. But you can use hand movements is equally good. I think you have to rely more on the diet. The good news is if you want to choose diet and exercise, combination is better for weight loss. But if you are allowed to choose one, like in this situation, diet is more effective in helping to lose weight than exercise alone. So diet restriction, calorie restriction, and appropriate food and fasting is far more effective than exercise alone.
Thank you so much. Yes, Dr. Bala.
There's two questions really. One is about alcohol. Alcohol in moderation, I thought I heard you saying it's okay, good. How does it come to that conclusion?
Yeah.
What is the evidence?
Evidently,
alcohol is bad for the heart as well.
Yes, it is a U-shaped curve or this thing. No alcohol they found is an increased risk, but it's a confounding factor because it may be the people who don't take alcohol are more stressed. Maybe this is a hypothesis. Maybe that's a personality factor may come in because they may be very rigid in their behavior and things. But very scientific way of proving alcohol is good is the best way to improve that, because I didn't say that because people will get annoyed. The best way to increase your good cholesterol is alcohol. So they thought increasing HDL is definitely protective. So why don't we drink alcohol? But then they found anything more than 14 units, it used to be 21 units. Now anything more than 14 units per week is harmful to the heart and the brain. Because that is when the triglyceride level override and the quality of LDL cholesterol become more atherogenic. And we also should not forget the harmful effect of alcohol on the brain, very high risk of hemorrhagic stroke with alcohol more than 14 units. And this is the only scientific explanation. And also alcohol increases the blood pressure, no doubt. So it has a lot of harmful effect, maybe a temporary beneficial effect. Maybe with alcohol, their diet is better or something else is playing, or they are much happier being in the pub. I don't know. There may be confounding factors. That is why I'm very cautious of asking people not to start drinking, saying, Dr. Ranjan told you it's good for the heart and brain. Start, but if you are drinking, cut down to make sure it is maximum 14 units and no more 21 units.
Okay, thank you very much. And the other one is about milk. There is full cream milk, skim milk, and skim milk. Is there any evidence for that?
Very good question. The full cream milk is still bad. So heart healthy food is semi-skimmed or fully skimmed milk. It may taste less, but that is well proven because no saturated, no harmful. So the old milk, the full cream milk is bad for heart and cholesterol. Yogurt is better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So full cream milk is not good.
How does it work out?
Saturated fat. It's saturated fat.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a lot of people argue that because it is coming from cow which eats grass, so in that sense it's better than you may think some other saturated fat. But on the whole milk, butter, cheese, they are classified under bad fat.
On that note, I just wanted to thank you so much for that question, Dr. Bala, because I was thinking, if someone told me fully skimmed milk has more sugar because to make sure there's a taste in it, it has actually more sugar than semi-skimmed. Is that true?
It may be. I don't know how they make. This is a problem with all sort of processing because they have to add something, and usually it is salt, fructose, or sugar to make it palatable. Otherwise, it won't sell. This is the problem with all the processed food, including semi-skimmed or skimmed milk. But if you are concerned about the fat part of it, definitely semi-skim milk is better than the full cream milk.
Two more questions. So sorry, Dr.
That's all
Ranjadayalan.
right, no
There's
problem.
so
That's
many
all right.
questions. You
That's
you
okay.
spoke definitely too quickly. Now you can see how active the
No, I
audience
am
are.
happy to, because that's useful for me as well. No, if it is useful, that's fine. I'm happy.
Thank you so much. We learned a lot. It's been amazing. When I have learned so much, I'm sure a lot of people have learned, and new developments, new thoughts. As I said before, we all thought that we have to have breakfast. And I never knew that, first thing in the morning, if we have sugar, then, it's more likely we are going to crave for sugar later on. I think we all learned a lot, really. Thank you so much.
I'm glad that it is useful. Yeah, thank you.
It's been very useful. Thank you so much for everyone who is on the platform and ask the questions as well. Thank you so much. Now over to Dr. Lakshmi Velaidhar to give the vote of thanks.
Hi, thank you very much. So it is indeed is a privilege and pleasure to know you, Dr. Ranjan. We truly appreciate you coming to this talk show and sharing this wealth of knowledge. It's absolutely amazing. So you, in fact, made the most difficult topic sound so easy to understand. I think you literally covered everything possible. And I'm so grateful that you touched, including the fact about the stress. I think now, I don't know how women feel now, especially those who are working. I feel the stress level is much more higher compared, I feel, maybe 20 years ago, because they're working and things like that. And we also mentioned about, in my talk on menopause, we mentioned about how estrogen and the stress work against each other as well. Likewise, after the age of 60, the cardiovascular disease among women goes high. So it is very good to see, that you have emphasized those importance, including about the diet and the importance of cholesterol and being on nystatin. I think it's absolutely amazing to hear all that valuable information. And thank you very much. And I also thank Menaca for making this. The questions were absolutely amazing, Menaca. It was so relevant for the public, and it kind of covered literally everything I could think of for heart disease. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. Thank you once again, Dr. Ranjadayalan. Like Lakshmi mentioned, you have covered a wide variety of information about heart, and I think we all have learned a lot. So huge thank you. And thank you so much for all the audience who come week after week. This is the 90th episode, who come week after week and support us to share this information widely, and who have supported us on YouTube. And hopefully this will make a positive impact across the globe widely. That is the intention of this show. So huge thank you for everyone. Once again, really privileged to have you. I know you're an expert. You have won awards. You speak in very prestigious platforms. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Ranjadayalan, for coming and gracing our stage for sure. Thank you so much. Next show is episode 91 on the 12th of June with Sobita Sashikumar to discuss how to thrive in finance as a woman. It has come to that time of the day to say goodbye, and we will see you back on the 12th. Until then, stay safe, be happy, and keep smiling.